Father God, we thank you and we give you praise. We want to first come and say thank you, God, for covering us and shielding us. God, we ask you to be with those that's in harm's way. Now, Father, we ask you to be with us today, God, that we be on one accord, God, to get a job done concerning the county and the community. God, we ask you to look out for our first responders, and we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This is a regular meeting of the Hendry County Board of County Commissioners being held on Tuesday, September 10, 2019 at 5 p.m. in the City Commission Chambers in Lewiston, Florida. In attendance are Chairman Mitchell Wills, Vice Chair Emma Burr, Commissioner Darrell Harris, Commissioner Mike Swindle, Commissioner Carson Turner, County Administrator Jennifer Davis, County Attorney Mark Flatt, and Clerk Barbara Bell.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we get started, the second meeting in a row, you'd think I'd learn by now. How about them Tigers?
Yeah, attaboy.
How about them Tigers?
Nice.
That hurt, too. First thing on the agenda tonight is under bids, RFQ 2019-16.
Chairman, for the record, Shane Parker, County Engineer, seeking permission to rebid this RFQ because we received no responses.
Do you have any idea why?
I don't have a clue. I haven't contacted our typical ones, but we had advertised 4 weeks, newspaper, and email.
So you don't know if
blast,
they're just
online.
so swamped they didn't have time, or if it just is such a
I don't
small
know.
project, or
I don't know
small
why.
project.
well, I'm from their opinion. I'm just saying.
Well, I've got a couple people I have to call, but we haven't had a chance to call. This just came in,
yeah.
and so we're.
So moved.
Did we talk to the ones that's doing the courthouse for us? Just out of curiosity, we already got them engaged.
We did.
They knew prior to.
They knew prior to. We advertised.
They don't want
we
to
sent
do
an
it.
email blast to them, and then we advertised online, but no one responded.
Just
Now,
telling
this
you,
came
get ready
in.
for about a 30% hike. That's how. I mean, and it may change in
Right
60
now.
days, but boy, it's hot.
No, it's busy.
Yeah.
We're in the same situation, trying to get plans drawn, and nobody wants to do it. They're all
But
extremely
we're going to be
hassle.
calling our vendors that typically submit and say, hey,
Yeah.
we're putting this out again, and then why didn't you?
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. We
yeah.
got a
That'd be
motion
good
by
to know.
Commissioner Harris. We have a second on that?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under B there, request for proposal, Hendry County Code Enforcement Special Magistrate.
I'm covering that for Ms. Embledge. So, per the board's prior discussions on this, we will put out an RFP for a special magistrate. We had only one submit in response, so somewhat disappointed with only getting one, but the committee met, the review committee, and that was composed of Ms. Embledge, Derek Rooney, who's the city attorney for the city of LaBelle, and also serves as a special magistrate. He's a private attorney. He also serves as a special magistrate in other jurisdictions. And then the Charlotte County Code Enforcement Director were on the committee. And they felt like the one candidate was capable and should be contracted with. So that's the recommendation.
Okay.
Can you share who? Can we? I didn't get the write-up. I'm sorry.
You didn't sign that?
Did anybody get it?
No,
I
we
didn't get
didn't.
it.
No, it was a
Oh,
supplemental.
it's not. It just says a
It
placeholder.
was a
for mine.
placeholder, and there was a supplemental.
Right.
I don't know. I can't explain why. I don't know what happened with her. Okay, so there was one response. It was his name's Noel Davies. He's with the firm of Quarles and Brady, which is actually a national law firm. He's in their Naples office. He has not been a special magistrate before, but he has dealt with code enforcement on behalf of private clients. He's familiar with Chapter 162, which is the main statute that governs the whole thing. His references were positive. He submitted rates that we asked for 3 different scenarios for the rates: a per hour rate, a flat rate per code case, or a flat rate for a half day of hearings rate. And so the hourly rate would he be able to charge us for his pre-hearing prep, his in-hearing time, and then his post-hearing order writing. And that was $435 an hour, so that's higher than any of us. I mean, that's probably like his hourly rate he charges any client, and that would get high quick for us. The per case rate was $217.50, and that's going to be a bargain on some cases, but it's going to be kind of high in other cases because the He's just basically going to be hearing from staff. No one may even show up for the other side. In that case, may take 10 minutes. And he writes an order that's already pre-filled. That'll take him 5 minutes, and he spends 15 minutes and earns $217. You know, that's a little bit too high. So the staff felt like the half-day rate was the way to go. That would be where he'd provide 4 hours of hearing time, and it would be $1,740 for the 4 hours. But that would he'd not be able to separately bill for his pre-hearing review or his post-hearing writing. He just for his whatever he had to do for the 4 hours to be ready for it and to follow up from it, he'd pay $1,740, or he'd be receiving $1,740. So that's the recommendation of staff. Although Margaret did suggest that she was going to try to get some concession on that amount a little bit from him to get that down a little bit further. So you're not being asked to approve the contract tonight. The idea would be just direct us to prepare the contract, and that would come back to you hopefully the next meeting for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve contract, approve the desire for the county to go into with this vendor.
Yep.
And they can negotiate on our behalf.
Yep.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. Discussion?
Is this, discussion, please. Is this Attorney Lapp and those of us who have been beating this up and running it around for quite a while, is that, is this, I don't know, man, I guess I'm having sticker shock on that, because if you look at, I mean, that's, in many cases, are we intending on passing that fee along to said code violators?
Well, no, we're not, per my last meeting where I'd done some research on that and found that you cannot pass on the special magistrate's fee to the landowner. There are staff time and hard costs that you can pass on. I just did the math real quick on, I mean, if we have one hearing a month, and I understand we may be doing more than one a month, some months, but there may be some months when we don't do any, like December may be a no hearing month. But anyway, if you just figure one hearing a month in a year at $1,740 per day, per half day, it'd be $20,880 for his fee. You know, you have in your budget, I don't know.
25. So what we did is we took the demo costs because we had it at 75. And we used those dollars, so it's not a net budget increase because we're redoing the mowing and the demo and all of that. So we're using those dollars to pay the magistrate fee because we're changing our process.
Have we reached out to the counties that already has this in process to see what the rates they're getting?
I don't think
I'm
so.
interested to see what
They're paying?
That's
Is
right.
it comparable, you mean?
Right.
I can ask.
And they could still do that while they negotiate this contract.
Sure, absolutely. I'm just curious if we did that.
Does DeSoto do this?
They do.
DeSoto County?
There's other counties that do.
They
We
do
just-
special magistrate. I couldn't tell you what their rates are.
Normally half day or full.
But, and I think maybe that was what Margaret was thinking when she said that she would go to him and try to negotiate further. We really just were, at this point, we just were receiving and seeing what he said, and this is what he said, and he was our only choice. And so it's kind of like, okay, we're going to work with that and try to get it down a little bit.
That's about what he's doing.
I'd like to see what that cost is, so
Yeah.
we going forward. So we have a motion and a second on that. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Ms. Byrd opposed. Okay, on the consent agenda, we're pulling B1 and B2 for discussion. Could I get a motion to approve the balance?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. B1.
Yeah, I'll take them both, B1 and B2, and normally the county engineer's office puts a little stipulation subject to county attorney approval, and that just got omitted here. And I had a few minor changes to the document. This is the disadvantaged business enterprise plans. Very minor changes, but I wanted to make it clear that, or ask that your approval be subject to my review.
So moved.
Second.
That's just B1, correct?
It's
Does
B1
that
and B2.
encompass both?
It applies equally to both.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Byrd. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Awards and appearances, there's nothing. We're coming to the public hearings, which, so we're going to start this at 5:30, Mark. Do we need
Yeah.
to hold off until then?
Yeah, we
or-
do, because it's been advertised for then.
Okay. Do you want to just try to get some staff reports done in that time then? Those of you that come in, if you come in late, if you would wish to speak, please get a card, fill it out, and return it back to the clerk, please, and we'll get you guys called out so you get a chance to speak tonight. Staff reports?
There's no other staff reports, but maybe you could do your business by district. Go ahead and, do you want to do that?
Okay, I didn't see nothing there. I just saw you and nothing there, okay. Commissioner Swindle, you want to start us?
Absolutely. I think we had actually requested this, right? And I know at least I had this conversation. Did everybody get to see what Ms. Sands from United Way had put together with regards to the mental health? I think Emily circulated it. I think I got this from you, didn't I? Did I? Didn't I? Nope. Okay, maybe I got it straight from Lisa then. But if not, this is and just in all the different realms that we touch and go to, and the different needs and services, the discussion was there's an enormous amount of services and layers of things out there, but said constituent that's walking around needing help, it's not that easy to always find where they are. And so I think Dr. Pepe and Lisa Sands and company put together a single sheet, which I'm a big fan of single sheet informations about if you're in need of mental help and the services that we have, that they put it all together. And if you don't have it for your constituents, for your communities, I would highly recommend it. And for the churches, who I know there's a lot of those present tonight, I would highly recommend, getting some copies. If you don't have it, Emily, I'll forward it to you to put out for everyone that and to everyone else as well. But great job by these guys doing that. So I just want to say appreciate that.
Yeah, actually, we had that meeting at the EOC, and that was
You can
a
have
big
that.
part of the discussion was getting the information out, and that's exactly what it was. Try to compact it down to one
Yep.
sheet, so
They did.
I haven't seen it yet, so that's great.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep. So
Mr. Chair, is that like 211 on paper?
yeah, and each of the different entities and who you call if you need this help, mental help, and
Mental health. Is that just mental health?
That
or
is
It's
just
mental health
yeah.
services.
Oh, that's just mental health.
Level, so it wouldn't be 211.
Yeah, 211's a little different.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Ms. Bird.
Don't have much. We are having a community meeting on next Monday with the airport at 6 o'clock. There's different entities that'll be out, those that need to register to vote. Census will be there, and mainly trying to recruit people to be trained within the job system. So looking forward to that meeting on Monday at Harlem Civic Center at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Mr. Harris.
Anyway, Jennifer and staff did a great job getting the hurricane away from us.
Yeah.
And so they called it a practice trial.
Good practice, and we're glad it was a practice.
It's good practice. Then I talked to a couple of pastors, and this is something we've talked about. Me and Jennifer's talked about this too, is we need to come up with something in the county, some way for homeless shelters. And
During hurricanes?
no, I'm talking
Just in
about-
general?
in
Oh,
general.
okay.
And there's some pastors that's finally interested in it. And before you couldn't get much help, so they are interested in it. And I told them that Jennifer had been interested in this for a long time. Me and her had talked about it. So we need to go forward with this and get the communities involved, because you got to have a house, a building, and all that stuff. And like everything else, you got to have money. And so, anyway, that's something we'll be getting a meeting on and try to get something started. Commissioner Turner.
Jennifer, Ms. Davis, could you give us some dates, hard dates, on the fire department workshop and recreation department workshop?
So we haven't established them.
We have not, right? That's what I'm saying. Could you establish those and get them out to us? The rec, I want to know an update from y'all. I want to have an update on our side. I want to challenge us to find a way to underwrite a county basketball league on this side. I want to emulate. I want to be able to talk to you until the cows come home publicly about what it is that y'all have done for how many years?
49.
49 years they've had a city basketball program, And when I was a little itty bitty guy, my brothers ran around. I've told y'all this. They ran around in basketball uniforms at what is now Central Elementary. They ran around in that gym, and they ran around in the old middle school, which was the old high school gym that's torn down now. And so I just think we need to do that, and adult everything. we're in the month of September. Where are we at with our agenda items, our bullet points for Tallahassee? They're going into committee. What have we all kind of got to where we think our top 3 or top 2 or?
Top 1.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thought we
That's what we decided on.
Okay.
So Emily's updated the white paper, and it was the force main and as number 1, and then the hardening of the public safety facilities as number 2.
No, wait, whoa, no, that's,
Heartmain
well, no, that was contingent upon, you were absent.
That was.
And so that was contingent upon, I believe Commissioner Turner and we all agreed, said that we wanted to make sure that the city meshed with that. We didn't want to be the only ones going and asking
Right.
for it and making it a priority if the
Hardening.
city wasn't going to make, no, not the hardening.
No,
The force main.
Oh,
force
for the
main.
force main, okay.
And
Yeah,
if
we
that-
want City of Clewiston to be in lockstep with us as it relates to asking for that force main to take a next step. And so I had on here Tetra Tech Advisory Force Main. Where are we? That was my notes. You know, you gave us a great document that showed us where it went to and stopped, or where it went to and stopped. I think we all got away from, we want it to go from Everglades to our property line and stop. I think we all agreed that we wanted to go to an arbitrary point out in a cane field heading west out of town. But now, are we on phase 3? Do we have phase 3 through 9 established? Is 9 going to be the one that completes us? Is phase 1A actually the city of Clewiston refurbishing their facility and having more capacity? I'm asking for that. And Tetra Tech's already queued up, right? They're on the payroll. So they probably have that document. We just need to dust it off and look at it. And so I'm now going to make my note a little bit differently because I've been asking this for 3 months now. Can I ask for this to be given we're in September, the first one. Can I ask for this the first meeting in October?
Wait, ask for what?
That update as it relates to Tetra Tech. Do
Okay,
you know
with
what?
the-
Do you know what phase 1 is?
No, sir.
Do you know what phase 5 is? Do you know how much any of them cost?
No.
My statement
Okay.
last was: if we get $6 million, where does that take us to a point
Okay.
in time and place? And then we cut it off, seal it up, and say, okay, we're going back to the legislature and we're asking for. If we get $1 million or we get 250, where does that take us? And is that not even taking us? It's just paying them more to design more. I don't know, but I want to see that.
Okay.
Do any of y'all disagree with that?
I don't know that you're only talking 3
to
weeks
the
time. I
city.
don't know if they got time. I mean, it took
I
them
think they have it.
months.
I think they have it.
Shane Parker, for the record, the design's done from the Clewiston plant all the way to Everglades. The first phase is established by how much money you have, which is the $1 million. After that, the remainder can be a single phase or it can be multiple phases. It just depends on how much money you got. And my understanding from the last meeting was, if you got another $1 million, where would it take you to? Or if you got 2, there is no magic phase beyond it. It's just however much money you get.
Just go that far.
We got an estimate. We already know a price per foot.
I'm going to say it again. When I'm sitting in the office with a state legislator, he or she says to me this: Carson, y'all have a request for $12 million. We only gave X number. Y'all equated for 30 or 40% of the total ask last year in this department. What if we gave you $500,000? What will you be able to do with that? And I need to be able to immediately reference a document and say, and they need pictures. I'm not a bright light bulb. Pictures speak 1,000 words. If I can look at it and go, oh, look, there. And I mean, I don't think it's a crazy request to say star at 2.5, star
We could do
at
something
5.
like that. We can give you a map that says from here, we'll do it in $500,000 increments.
And then the other thing that they
through.
need, Shane, is they need a guarantee that if they award X number of dollars, we're turning dirt tomorrow. We can't have to. They will be very disappointed if we say to them, "Oh, sorry, you gave us this, but now we have to go and acquire X easement, or we have to go require permission from this whatever entity." We need to have all of that permitting process in lockstep. And so Tetra Tech has to advise us on that.
We have requested that, and
Okay.
so we need to get a timeline when they'll be complete, and then something like a per foot cost.
Yes, ma'am.
That we know where the first $1 million will take us.
Yes,
and then
ma'am.
if you get a per foot cost from there and you have the delta, then you know when you're there, if they say, okay, we can give you another $1 million or another $500,000 or whatever it is, you can do the math and you can figure
And
out.
I think we all agree, Ms. Davis, that if we get the city of Clewiston on, we just have that much of a bigger target for them to hit. and I think it's going to be very well received.
I believe that's got to be first step.
So I will update my conversations with them, but I have had a conversation with their city manager.
The city manager.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but not Tetra Tech.
Not directly with Tetra Tech, but we sent an email for the information that you're requesting with
Okay.
Tetra Tech.
So I'm making that request in the first meeting of October. You
Okay.
say it's 3 weeks away. I'm telling you they got it. I'm telling you they got it.
I hope so.
I have that confidence in them.
But I'm not in disagreement. I just want to make sure that the city's priority
Isn't-
is
Yes, sir.
because if they're saying that's not even a priority theirs to go that route,
Yes,
then we
sir.
may as well stop now. I don't care what
believe
Tetra
that.
Tech does.
That's not what they're,
Okay, that's fine. I just haven't seen that or heard that.
there's a few things at play with that, but they are very much engaged in the conversation, and they need that, I think, as much as we need that.
Okay.
For some of their priorities that they're working on.
Okay.
So we'll put that together, and I'd prefer for them to probably share that with you directly, but we'll make that happen.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner?
Yes, there are a lot, but we only got 4 minutes, but I'll try. So I got the rec department workshop, fire department workshop. Can you email us the community meeting schedules, when and where again? Remember, we're gonna go out to satellites. I'd like to see that
We're in
again.
Harlem next week. huh?
Harlem is
Next Monday.
October.
Did that get moved?
It's supposed to be October.
Okay, so that one's still locked, because I was just wondering, I read something, Miss Hunter, but I don't remember, and I remember some things moved.
It's in Harlem?
It's in Harlem.
Next week.
October.
Yeah, you have
Not
to go
next
there.
week.
Oh, okay.
First meeting in October. Well, actually, it'll be the second meeting in October. October 1st, you're having your final budget hearing in LaBelle. You're having your first regular meeting in October on the 8th at Harlan Civic Center.
Okay.
Harlan
Okay.
Civic and Cultural.
So there were
Awesome.
a few things. Okay, I knew I wasn't dreaming up something. So okay, good there. So the community, Tetra Tech, Helms Road signals, Mr. Parker.
As I said at the last meeting, they're working with KCA on doing the design. We've got plans arrived in today for 29 intersection using concrete poles. It appears to work. I just got to review those, and tomorrow they'll submit those to DOT. They're still working on the Helms Road 80 intersection to see. They got the temporary signals they're laying out, and they're waiting on see if they can do concrete poles instead of mast arms since the state's allowing us to do that. Don't know if that'll work yet. They're still working their calculations on the structural. That's it.
But the county's doing it, right?
The
They
county's
give you the money to do it,
well, they haven't given me the money. It's reimbursable. Like the county's paying for it, and we seek reimbursement from the state.
but you gotta do it.
We got to do it. Right.
But we will get the reimbursement.
Yeah, we got a funding agreement, so
We
that's where
don't
it
know
is.
what year.
So last thing, Mr. Chairman, Mark, the update on litigation and foreclosures. So I can't remember the name of the particular case, but it was the one in LaBelle that we referenced that had a lot of junk and debris in a yard.
Down
So
78.
are we foreclosing on county liens?
No.
We are not. So we haven't even started the lien process.
Yeah, there's no liens. So that one was a case that was not the junk and debris where the county goes notice and goes out and cleans it up itself. I mean, because it's a home with a fence around it. And so that wasn't even possible. So it was a county court case from the beginning. And the county court case is where, they got a citation, they show up to court, and staff present, and the landowner comes or doesn't come, and the judge orders them to clean it up by a date certain, and then starts ordering a fine. Now, we didn't get to a daily fine with her. She had a fine. I don't know how much she paid of it. It wasn't much. It was $150 or $300, and she was paying it over time.
Have we ever mowed this place?
No, it's
You
a
can't-
fenced.
you
It's a
can't get
house
on?
that's fenced in with dogs. So we don't go on and do anything on that kind of scenario. Wait for a court order to make it happen, or get the landowner to do it herself. And so we were striking out. She was quit coming to the code enforcement hearing, so the judge was just ordering her to fix it, and she wasn't fixing it. So just trying to come up with a new strategy, I said, let's sue her as part of we have authority to sue over code enforcement violations like a regular lawsuit, just like anybody could sue for, negligence or whatever. We can sue in court for violation of the law. And so I filed that kind of lawsuit, with your permission earlier in the year, and was hoping that would prompt some action. It initially did. And, Margaret, Wanda's not here, right? There was some initial action where she started cleaning up. I don't know if Mr. Harris noticed.
Yes, I noticed. It keeps growing.
Well, there was some improvement, then it went backwards. Well, I heard there was improvement, then it went backwards.
It's no improvement.
And so she hasn't proceeded well enough. And so the next step is I've scheduled her for deposition.
But a deposition is going to take hours, is it not?
Well, probably 2 hours. And it's scheduled for September 30th.
And so this isn't the perfect scenario for a special magistrate to engage this process and special magistrate to hear it and say, said person, you're not performing, therefore county has rights.
I don't know. We don't have that yet. We just, and when we started this case, we didn't have special magistrates, so that wasn't even on the table. So I don't know if we'd want to voluntarily dismiss this suit later. I don't know. When you dismiss a case without a settlement, that exposes you to some potential claim that it was without merit.
But the
And
bad
so
thing
I
about
wouldn't want to do
this,
that.
of course, it's been going on 3 years,
Yeah, 3 years we've done nothing, and
and we've offered.
Well, this isn't
we have no lien on this property whatsoever.
because we haven't done any work, right?
No,
You know.
we haven't.
Well,
That's, but that's the
can't.
only reason. But we don't have a daily fine. We haven't implemented down that path. We don't have any liens on it, and we're 3 years into it. We're 3 years into it. So
But we're getting closer.
stay the course.
Getting closer.
But we're talking about changing the whole process. We're in a court case, and in a court case, you don't get staff time. You get a court order, and
We'll try this.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
It's 5:30.
Very good. We're going to start with the public hearings then. The first one is the imposition of special assessments on churches and other nonprofit organizations. Mr. Lapp, are you presenting
Yes, I
this?
have that. So the county has 19 MSBU's throughout the county, and from everything from fire to recreation to drainage to roads to solid waste, mosquito, and all properties within the boundaries of each MSBU are supposed to be assessed based upon the benefit they receive, and so that's the case with all, with all of our MSBU's, except for the most part, churches and nonprofit organizations have not been assessed. Now, there are some exceptions for that. You have a spreadsheet that has, different colors on it, and so the ones with red, they are being assessed now, but we're suggesting that needs to be eliminated. The ones with yellow are being assessed now, and that's correct. And then the ones with green are ones where they haven't been assessed, but they should have been for some time, and they haven't been, but we're proposing to fix that now. And so back in June, you authorized us to proceed with this. We sent out a mailed letter with details, had a newspaper ad, it was in the trim notice, and alerted the landowners, the churches and the nonprofits that this was under consideration. So the rates that they're being charged are the rates that they'd be charged based upon the type of facility they have. So a lot of these churches have houses that are used as a dwelling. And in that case, it's treated like a single-family home, like any other single-family home in the county, and they should pay, just like any other single-family home in the county has to pay, regardless of income or status or anything. If you live in a house, you pay the solid waste, you pay the mosquito, you pay the fire, you pay the recreation. And so a lot of these dollar figures are for single-family dwellings. If there's any staff, Tommy and his staff and the property appraiser tried to determine if maybe some of these houses have been turned into offices or meeting rooms, and in which case they're not a single-family dwelling anymore, and they shouldn't have been assessed as a single-family dwelling. They tried to do that. Maybe there's some mistakes. We can hear from people if there are any. But so any non-dwelling facilities on a church are looked at like a business would be looked at. It's a big building, maybe a big building. Maybe a small building, but it's viewed as similar to a commercial building. And so the rates that they were proposed are based upon their square footage, just like a business would be charged based upon square footage or per acre. Some of these are per acre. Some of these are just per parcel. Different MSBU's have different rates. And so that's all in here. And so we're proposing that you begin these assessments.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
would you mind for the sake of discussion, giving us a little bit of background on how we arrived at this from a historical perspective. You know, when we think that this was granted to have a exempt status, and then where we are today and how we arrived at where we're contemplating re-implementing.
Yeah, that really, I don't know. We was discussing that earlier, and this happened back in what you said, 2008 or 9?
99.
1999.
2000.
So in 99, I was an employee, so
Yep.
I wouldn't have had, information from the board.
I was a junior at Southwest Baptist University.
So my question is, Mark, can we okay all of these on here except for the churches? And bring the churches back at the next workshop?
What do you mean by okay, all of these on here?
I think what you're
Booker's
saying is you
Point.
approve all of the MSBUs on C.
Yeah, on C, and then bring this
Oh,
one
on the
back.
agenda. I hear you.
Bring the churches back for discussion.
No, the folks have come out tonight, and I believe we should hear
Yeah, hear them.
hear them tonight. I asked that question earlier because I don't think we're going to come to a
No.
decision on this, so we can continue this, but they've come out tonight, and I believe we should hear what they have to say. So,
Mr. Chairman, I think we're all in agreement with wanting to hear what our constituents have to say. I will just, to echo a little bit of what Commissioner Harris is saying, I'm in favor of adoption of all of the other MSBUs under item C. I believe even the item on B, imposition of special assessments on RV parks.
And then
Bring
this one back.
I want to try to find a way to get close to resolution, if not give clear and concise direction on where we want staff to go on trying to write this item tonight, and so that we have a consensus of where we're going on the imposition of special assessments on churches and other nonprofit organizations.
yeah.
So I'm not saying that we're going to make a decision tonight, but I'll tell you I want to get very detailed as to how we're leaving it tonight so that staff is clear on where we're going. And I'll just, as I echoed earlier today during the budget hearing, I cannot in good conscience, say, sorry, it is what it is in black and white or green and red and yellow, and deal with it. So because of some of the sentiments that you've shared with me in these chambers of saying this is the difference in people keeping their doors open or having to close up.
Right.
I'm not going to be the one that closes a church because we're trying to fix something that happened back in 1999.
Okay, well, the question was then, could we do an adoption on the C, B and C, and then bring the other back for discussion? Or
No, I
do you
think
want to
you
do the discussion first?
Well, B is the mobile RV parks, and
Right.
maybe we need to find out if any of them are here. There's only 3 that are affected.
I have is basically pastors and church.
Okay, so I think we could do.
Anyone here for the RVs tonight? I didn't get a form for that.
So for the 3 RV parks, I think you could decide that you're going to proceed with the new rates for those 3.
I make that motion. Proceed with those rates.
Second,
For the RV parks. and
imposition of
RV
special
parks,
assessments
so
on
that's
RV
B.
parks.
We got a motion from Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner, to impose the special assessments on the RV parks.
Right.
This
just
is
to
a
be-
public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to that? Seeing none. Anyone on the board? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to adopt the assessments for the
Okay.
following MSBU's.
Okay, hold on a second. For that one, for C, that's all the MSBU's, and most of the churches.
They're going to fall under part
They
of that
fall,
category.
and when you approve the assessment, you approve the roll, the assessment roll, and the assessment roll includes.
So we don't
our-
need to do that
So
right now.
that would, if you,
We don't have to do that then?
well, you don't have to do it. Because we've had this allowance because of the hurricane, it can be heard as late as the 19th. You already have a budget hearing scheduled for the 17th. So on the record here tonight, you could continue both A and C to time certain, September 17th, and do it all then. So I think you can do that, but
But we may very well find resolution tonight.
Let's listen. Let's listen and continue
Yeah.
before we do that. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yes.
Yeah, before we do that, that's a good idea. So does anyone on the board want to discuss? You want to start with
I'd rather hear.
I would too.
I want to hear that.
first one up is Pastor Troy.
Mr. Harris, are you going to drink your water?
If you will, when you come, please name and address for the record, please. And if you would, yeah, Ms. Birch, it'd be nice to know what church it was.
Do you want my rank and serial number also?
No, sir, we'll just stick with your pretty rank and go ahead.
Just give us the last 4 of your social.
Pastor Troy Ezel, Turning Point Church of God, out in Flaghole, 207 Pine Lane. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come tonight, and I want to assure everybody it's not out of a motivation of hostility or a lack of consideration of the county situation or the county needs or anybody else's needs or anything of that matter. But it is a consideration of not just our church, but all 501c3s and nonprofits in respect to being a nonprofit and a group or an organization that does not create a profit, that does not benefit per se from creating something and drawing in an income from it. I understand everybody is aware of what that is. Secondly, I want to say I'm aware of the legalities. I've looked it up in regards to the state of Florida, in regards of litigated cases, and I understand the county is well within its right to do so. But one thing I've learned in life is we're well within our rights to do many things, but do we or should we always do them? And the reason I say that is because churches and nonprofits, and I stress the if they are active, and I understand oftentimes that there are properties and structures and things that are inactive. If they are active in the community, they are serving the community. They are outputting to community without any return from the community, just as the county is, other than its, if you will, their constituents or their members, their congregation. And as that, they are a service to the community. And oftentimes the argument's been made, they're a draw on our tax bills or a draw on our costs in the county and things of that sort. But I argue that they are not a draw, they are contributions, because the members of those organizations pay those things on their property. I have property along with my brother in Hendry County, and we pay those taxes. And I understand very much that our properties affect, and as our church does, it has a property adjacent to it that we own. It has a residence on it, and I'm fully aware that we should pay for that because that is not utilized as the church itself. But in regards to the church, in the words of Mr. Swindle, I got sticker shock because we're due, if assessed currently, we're due $1,800 a year. We already pay waste, and I understand, and I didn't realize why, but I understand we do not pay waste on the adjacent property. If we pay that, I'm fully aware of that. That's a private entity that the county contracts, and I have no problems paying that. I would never argue such a thing. But I do argue, and I argue this from a standpoint of compassion and service to the community, that if we start invoking such things and imposing such things against 501c3s, against nonprofits, against charities, we are in essence promoting them to not come here. We're in essence pushing an ideal that will push them away. And it may not be recorded in county records, but 501c3s and churches especially, beyond compare, serve the community. They serve the community in a way that's immeasurable because there are no records per se to measure it. And I understand clearly that when we look at the books and we look at the tax rolls, things, to be fair, we should pay our fair share. And I'm not putting that in quotes to be sarcastic toward the person that made that statement in any way. But in reality, fair sometimes is a relative term. It's not a term that we should say, well, this group deserves better, or this group deserves to be charged less because of who they are. Not because of who they are, but because of what they do. And I don't argue simply for the church. I argue for any nonprofit that is active, that is working in the community, that is a part of that community, that is contributing that to community. And we have helped countless people. And I don't say this to use this in any way against the county, but there's been many times we have worked with the county to have meetings out there in Flaghole, to work as a central location for it. And that was not out of obligation or out of being against or hoping for some sort of compensation in any way. It was simply to help the community. And it would always, no matter what happens here, I will always be available. Our church will always be available in that manner. And that's not to ask you to give me any kind of special privilege in regards to that. For the simple fact that churches and these nonprofits serve their communities with no compensation from the community or the county as a whole. All right? Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Can we ask questions? Can we dialogue back and forth?
Mr. Chairman, I usually hate asking questions, but this is a little bit of a different animal to me. I think.
Careful, but when you ask a preacher, you could be here a while.
I'm trying to tell you.
Hey,
I'll minimize my time.
Hey, that cat didn't look that nervous talking.
I'm speaking from experience.
Go ahead. I'll yield.
did I hear you say, though, Pastor Troy, that you would be receptive to understanding that as it relates to the facility that you reside in, you're okay with accepting you got to pay
A residence.
You're good with that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I fully understand that.
Do you think you're just okay? That's my number question. That's my main question. I had a couple others, but that's the main one that I wanted to.
And if I may respond, just one more brief point to that question, and that is because I can't argue with the fact that it is a residence there. I'm simply arguing for the organization and for the church as a whole itself.
Is that a parsonage?
Yes, sir, it is. Yeah.
Mr. Pastor Ryan, y'all don't have a dumpster at?
No, sir, we don't.
Did you ever have one?
No, sir, we did not.
Okay.
Curbside, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So you don't even have totes. By the way, we don't even give them totes. They're in flat.
No, we do have totes.
How about them apples? Well, that county commission took care
Mighty
of them.
nice county commission.
All right, so you do have 2 totes.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And again, as I said, we have a property adjacent to the church property that we own. And it's a residence. I fully understand that. I'm not trying to invite extra taxes, call it non-ad valorem or ad valorem. It's just semantics. But nonetheless, if the community residents pay it, I understand that. But the assessment upon the building that we have, and I had no, per se, direct control of the creation, the building of that size of building. It is something that we do contend with as far as paying its bills. And it's a sizable building. Thank the Lord we're able to pay it. I'm not arguing against the residents. I'm arguing for the fact that be it our church or any other church or any other nonprofit, it doesn't have to be a church. I'm arguing for the fact that we would be able to consider them and not assess them directly.
Commissioner Swindle, what was your question?
That was precisely my question.
Okay.
I wanted to clarify that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
I'm going to do some quick. I'm going to do some quick napkin math, and then I'm going to speak to their issue here in just a second.
Is it Mr. Herman? Is that correct?
Please consider him as difficult hearing.
No, he don't. No, he don't.
Tim's do something.
I feel his pain.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir.
Pardon?
State your name for the record.
My name is James Herman. I'm a member of the great Turning Point Church of God. Pastor Troy just spoke. I traveled 20 miles, about 20 miles, just to go to that church because it's a great church and it's a great pastor. Now, we're a 501c, all right? Not for profit. Now, I realize what you want to charge is from the frontage, the sewer, or whatever, picking up garbage. Am I right or wrong? But my opinion is, where are you going to go during a storm? A storm we just had, a hurricane. Everyone wants to go somewhere safe. Where are you going to go close? Go to the church or a safe place. During any emergency, what is the best place to go? A place that is structurally sound, like our church. Now, if you want to go to pray, whatever religion you are, you're welcome to go to our church because we serve the public, all right? And it is fellowship is what we need. Joining together, everybody, and just loving the Lord as it please. Okay? We love the Lord, so that's why we go to church. And those who don't love the Lord still walk and go to church. It's an open door. Now, as far as your taxes in the front, we understand that you need garbage pickup, maybe the sewer or whatever, you know. However, a lot of the residents in Flaghole, Montoro, and everything, they pay taxes. So it's almost like a double tax on the same people that give offering to the church. Because then the church has to put a tax, extra tax on to the frontage. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying that, look, we're a small church. We're not a mega church. Now, if we were a mega church with thousands of people, yeah, let's pay whatever. I think they should. But we're not a mega church. We're a small little church. And we like to help the community. When people are starving, we give out. They give out food. They give out anything. They give out love with the food. God is good all the time, so, let us all see that, Best thing is listen, because one day we're all going to be making it up there. One day. But we'll be turning 79 this month. I'm happy. I'm happy I have a place to go. I'm happy I have a pastor who speaks for the Lord. I don't know about the rest of you, but I know some of you are in the same place. You all love the Lord. So that's why I have to say, if you can be a little bit lenient on it, I see the time's up. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Zimmerman.
My name is Jeff Zimmerman. I'm the pastor of Grace Baptist Church in LaBelle. We are in Port LaBelle, actually, and part of the Eucalyptus Village. Okay, we have several problems with it. Number one, we have no benefit that I know of. We have no lighting, no sidewalks, or anything else. So I don't know why we would be taxed. Number two, the power to tax is the power to own. And if you tax us now with this, what stops you from adding all kinds of other taxes later? Why can't we tax you? There are several times when the policemen of Hendry County meet in our parking lot to compare notes and stuff. We never give them a tax bill. And we don't mind. Matter of fact, if I had donuts, I'd go out and feed them. They could stay there all day. The more they're there, the less we have to worry, to be honest with you. So I really have a problem with it. Like they also said, I'm a resident, I pay taxes, so why should I be paid twice? If most of our church people own the homes that they live in, they're paying taxes, and then we have to pay a second tax, that's like double jeopardy if you ask me. And then third, we would not be in a position probably to keep paying the taxes, so you would probably receive our property, just like you said. You said if we don't pay it, we lose our title, and we just don't think that's fair. And that's what you claim, that we should be fair.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Pelham.
My name's Henry Pelham. I go to High Haven Baptist Church. I've been here for 74 years, and I've never had to hear anybody say the churches are being taxed. Who are we to tax God's house? Amen. I mean, that's something. I tell you, the parsonage, I agree, but the church is God's house, and that should not be taxed. Regardless of what the county commissioners say, this lady here says, or anybody else, the church is not what they call here a commercial industry. It is a church of God. And that's the way I feel about it. Like I say, I believe the parsonage should be taxed, but not the house of God. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vargas.
Remember what the Bible says. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord.
Get him.
I'm the one who entered that, but I did that for my husband. I just wanted to ask those questions.
You still need to come up, ma'am, please. If you would, please just go ahead and state your name for us.
My name's Angela Vargas. We recently moved here to Clewiston 3 years ago. It was 3 years in June. And everybody always asks me, what brought you to Clewiston, because we came from this really big city, and God did. My husband is pastor of the church on Evercane Road, the Jesus Church, and
Mr. Chair, Ms. Vargas, is that what used to be Lighthouse Apostle?
yes, sir.
Okay. All right,
yes,
thank
sir.
you.
When we changed
Got you.
names.
I know what you're talking about now. I just wanted to put my bearings in.
Yes, sir. This is all new to us, so some of you seasoned pastors, I appreciate everything you already said, because you pretty much said what we're already feeling. But like the previous pastor said before, in the little time that we've been here, we got hit with the hurricane the first 3 months that we were here. So, and in returning from that, we automatically, our organization had the ability for us to go and pick up a U-Haul full of supplies, and we opened our doors to the community right after that. In the midst of the heat, in the midst of everything that was going on, we could have chose to stay in the nice hotel where we were at, or with our family where we were at, and but we didn't. We chose to go to the warehouse where they had supplies set up, and we brought trailer full of water, food, baby food, clothes, everything that you could think of, and we just made it available to whoever could come, and they were coming by the loads. Now, I feel like, some ministers have to work double jobs, because what comes in through the community really isn't enough to supply and provide for a family. Our size is family of 5. There's 5 of us. But my husband, he works 2 jobs. That's the reason why he's not here. But you know what? We're not in it for the money. We're not in it to save taxes. We're in it to save souls. So like Mr. Pelham had said, if you start to tax the thing that God has given to us freely, then what you're doing is not only double taxing the people, but you're keeping people from wanting to come and do what's right, or wanting to come and do good, because all of a sudden now you're already scrounging to pay the bills, because we do pay bills. You're already scrounging to do that. You're scrounging to make available certain things in the community, as far as doing little outreach things, getting involved with not only the youth, going to visit the nursing home people. Now you have to stop doing that, because now you're having to, everything that's coming in from the saints of God, now you're having to do fundraisers. You're having to do all these extra things in order to keep the house of God, which it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. And I just feel like this probably isn't a good idea. Now, I don't know about taxing the parsonage. We live in a parsonage, and I don't really know all about the land where we're at, but from my understanding, it was donated by Mr. Ridgedale. So I'm not really sure. So I'm not the greatest person to ask, but
what was the name of it, ma'am, Miss Vargas? I'm sorry.
it was originally the Lighthouse.
What is it now? What is it?
It is
listed on
now
here?
the Jesus Church.
I can't
We're
find
located at 911 Evercane Road. 911. So if you need us, that's where we're at.
911.
Yes.
911
what
Jesus
better
Road.
place to go when you're in need of help. But we're here to serve the community. We're not here to make money off of anybody. That's basically all I need to say. And I think most of pastors are like that.
Thank you.
No, sir. This is 911 Evercane. It used to be the first apostolic church of Clewiston, and then it was Lighthouse Apostolic Church, and now it's the Jesus Church. We're right at the crossroad where Davidson Road is at. Davidson Road.
Right behind the store.
No, you're not.
Behind
Yeah,
the store.
Ridgedale Road.
Ridgedale Road and Davidson Road, we're right in the middle.
They're just north of the Shamrock.
We're right across the street from the Pelham Park, the little Bo Pelham Park.
Yeah.
We're like catty corner to
It's
that.
just not on.
I don't see it. Do you
That's
see
the
it? You see
First
it on here?
Pentecostal Church of Clewiston.
That
Okay,
was
so
It
it's
is?
about one half of the way down.
Oh, I see it. First Pentecostal Church of Clewiston.
That
right
used to be it.
Okay.
And then it was the Lighthouse.
All right.
And now it's
Behind the store, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
right
so
beside the gas station. That's right there. Yes, ma'am.
First. Okay.
so like an example is 8750 plus 52650 if you're just looking at the fire assessment. And then you go to mosquito, 30 plus 200 because of the square footage requirements.
Hey, why are they paying? I'm sorry, am I looking at that correctly? They're paying West Rec as well?
No.
Why are we proposing West Rec?
East.
No, it's east. It's not in West Rec, sir.
I know, but they're
That's not it. They're not taxed in West
Yeah,
Rec.
yeah. And Turning Point's worse than that.
First Pentecostal Church of
Oh,
Clemson.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not in West Rec.
Gotcha. I did. I was
It's,
I was a
there's-
column over. Gotcha.
Which this is going to go back to what we talked about earlier. There's multiple charges in some areas, and Pastor Troy, I was the one that said the churches should pay their fair share, and I am a pastor. So if anybody's curious about that, when I first learned about this 3 years ago, I applied for a loan to build a church and was told they would not loan money to a church because the church would not pay its bills. I got that from 4 different lending establishments. I was appalled because I'm thinking that is not the church's money, that's God's money. How could you not pay the bills at the church? So that's my position on that. As far as the homes and stuff there, I mean, if there's a parsonage, but we're saying the same thing up here. We don't want to close no doors. That's the last thing we want to do. The church I have in town is small. We're about to build a bigger church. Our taxes are going to go up if this goes through, which I'm in the same boat that Mr. Zimmerman. I'm in Unit 4. Unit 4 has its own mosquitoes and different stuff like that, and this is the conversation we had before when I said we need to be aware of where they are to make sure they're not already in a taxing district. So there's a lot that goes into this. That's the reason we actually talked about carrying this over too, because this is not going to be where we're going to end up. But just wanted everyone to know that I wasn't one that said that. We pay our bills there and it's going to go up, but I mean, you talk about feeding people. We feed from 180 to 250 people every Thursday. Every Thursday. That's not a guesstimation. That's every Thursday. We give out 6,000 to 7,000 pounds of food every week. So when you talk about giving back to the community, that's every one of us sitting here as pastors. You don't do this for money. You don't do it for money, and I get that. So I'm telling you, I understand completely. I don't get a paycheck. I don't go to. That's not my base for my survival. That is my survival, knowing who gives me my sources. So just to give you a little bit more of an idea. Everything that you do for the community is something that gives a plus back for your youth services and everything that you do. So I have a hard time with some of this as well. Once again, we don't have a parsonage. I have my own house, so I pay all the taxes anyway. But it's just, again, we just got to get. I can't claim that as a parsonage. I own that house, and I would not do that. I mean, so I wouldn't do it. But
I was aware it was you. I just didn't want to sound disrespectful.
No, you're not, sir. And I want everyone to know I said it because, like I said, I am a pastor. And the last thing I'm going to do is push God away. He's been shoved out of everything we have in this country, and I will not be a part of this if that's what he's done then. So just so everyone knows, I want everyone to be clear on that. I said it. So, Pastor...
Mr. Chairman, I've repeated your comments to at least a dozen people, if not more.
I don't have a problem with it.
And I know you don't, and that's why. And I wasn't repeating your comments to be cowardly and say it wasn't me, it was Chairman Williams. I was saying you're a man of God. I told you from day one on this, I'm gonna lean on you to steer us in the right direction on this. I studied this on my computer monitor there. Mm-hmm. I've felt uncomfortable about this from day one. I think this is a prime example of the county having a tremendous black eye. Then when you break it down, when you look at it from a 38,000 net number, or if it's 25,000, I'm not real sure. I can tell you right now, and it's what I propose to us clearly. I don't think any of us are in favor of 100% engaging it. I've heard no one tonight say they're anti the facility that I live in being assessed. They're just saying, please be mindful of our ability to have this facility that serves the Lord, serves a voluminous amount of people that are all our constituents, and take that into consideration. And I've heard no one be unreasonable. So
we do have one more speaker, though.
Fired up about it.
Pastor, is it Adolph? Adolph? Would you come up, please, sir?
It's Adolph Lee. Yes. He's a world famous basketball player.
I quit that to preach.
He's got a better job then.
Pastor Adolph Lee. Amen. I have a church in Clemson at 1182 Delta Tobias Avenue. And most all the preachers said the same thing I wanted to say. I think we should pay our fair taxes. If it's fair, we should do that. But I don't think the church should be fair, but the Bible tells us we got to obey the government. So if they say we have to pay taxes, we just have to pay taxes. And like you say, we don't get paid to pastor a church. We just God called us to bring souls into the church. If people are sick, then they can come into the church and get healed and whatever have you. And like I do, like he was saying about the food, we do like 120 plates every Thanksgiving. Every year we do about 120 plates. I don't care where you come from, what the name of your church, you want to come and get some food, you welcome. It doesn't matter. If you're from New Jerusalem, you just come on. You can have food just like the rest of us. It doesn't matter what color you are. Just come on. We're just going to enjoy Jesus. And that's what we do. And I just enjoy what Pastor Troy was saying. I just enjoy what he's saying because I would have said the same thing he said. But I don't want the church taken away. I tell my members I think it's June the 1st, we're going to have prayer. We're going to pray for the hurricane season. And you know, that's a good thing that all the churches ought to be doing that because the Bible tells us always pray. And the prayer can shield us because the storm turned the other way. Somebody was praying. Yeah. What if we didn't have no church and they said we couldn't pay the taxes? What are we going to do? Where we going to run? Where we going to hide? You can't run and hide nowhere but in God. And I just thank God for being here this evening. And let us just continue to pray for one another that we'll do the right thing and let God's will be done. Not our will, but let His will be done. Amen.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I just think that everybody's being mindful of the decision that we have to make. I come from a small church, and it's so much falling away that the churches are more important now than they've ever been because of the people that's falling away. And we do have a responsibility. And I can only speak for my district or the people that's being fed or those that's coming in. And it's important that we do all we can do to keep the doors open and be very mindful of our decision that we make here today, that we be kingdom-minded. So it's not about us, it's about everybody, and it's about the people. So I just ask that we all be kingdom-minded. And I think that's everybody have that same mindset, that they're not trying to close doors, because if they do, I'll go against that. And I do understand that, like I said, I'm from a small congregation, and sometimes you can't get from point A to the point B. That's when your faith kick in. So we don't need anybody to hinder our faith or our trust with God. So I hope that we're able to make the right decision, for the churches. And like Pastor Lee said, we know we have a responsibility as a church and as a body, but just take heed to our decision that we make and that we be considerate to the people that you all take care of, because you feed a lot of people. Some people have no place to go and they run to the church. Even if they able to give or not, they make some kind of assessment to help. So let's just be mindful of our decision that we make today.
Anything else? Mr. Chair, a handful of questions that have popped in. I guess one of the first questions is from a making sure we don't get mixed up in the 501c3 world versus place of worship and how you distinguish, how that, because I'm just thinking, there are some 501c3s out there that are some of the more wealthier organizations that are operating out there, and I may be speaking out of turn, but I think of like a Goodwill Industries or United Way or some of
Orlando.
I mean, those things are multi-million-dollar animals, and I cannot speak to whether they are tax exempt or not. I don't know, and if they're let's say the owner of a massive building downtown Miami-Dade, I'd like to know. I'd like to see. That'd be very interesting. And I think that we would be dumbfounded. Like the Southwest Florida Community Foundation, for example. Mm-hmm. That's a registered 501c3 that has its tendrils into Hendry and Glades County in a very positive way. $50,000 towards computer lab and Clewiston Library. I don't know what they've done for your adult school, movement. I mean, they're deep into, I'd say, $500,000, if not approaching seven figures on what they've done to us. And to say they've gotten that return on investment, I don't think it is. But I'd like to see what they're paying in their new facility in downtown Fort Myers and some of the richest real estate in Lee County. That would be interesting just to get educated on it. As it relates to the parsonage versus the facilities, I know our attorney kind of explained to us during the budget workshop that there is a service and you have to be fair and equitable in how you apply that service. I will just tell you, we're going to have to reference case law or something for I don't know, let the lawsuit file, I guess. I guess that's where I'm at with it. Let somebody sue the heck out of us. Because as it relates to East Fire, and charging the Diocese of Venice in Florida $526, or the La Iglesia de Dios or Turning Point, 702. The other one's 526, 702. I just don't, I understand. They're receiving fire protection, and normally I wouldn't reference, but I think it was Mr. Zimmerman. I just happened to write his name down. Said, we should be. You are getting services. When you pick up the phone, someone's having a cardiac event or something, God forbid, or there's a break-in or something like that. You're going to call 911, and we're going to react. You put something out curbside, the county's going to react. But really, I would make a strong argument that you don't receive the level of service that a private residence receives on a day-to-day basis, and or a housing development, and or a for-profit business. So a long way around of saying, I'm interested in hearing if y'all want to say we're going to remove that 100% as it relates to the East Fire to be consistent. Now you do West Fire the same, and if it's not a parsonage proper, then it's not going to have that cost.
At 526, that's that church.
There's a bunch of them, and they're getting hammered with.
There's one for $702.
Yes, sir.
There's several of them.
There's several for 702. There's a handful for 200. There's one for 297. And I'm really not hung up on if they have 2 members or 2,000 members, and I said that earlier as well. I think that we need to be looking at it from a standpoint of, to your point, Commissioner Harris, going to mosquito control. $200 for all of them.
Yeah.
And then you got a handful of them. And, I remember talking with a couple of the pastors about this, and I said, one thing I want you to understand is we're trying to balance the fact that your facility is not being charged, and the one right across the street is being charged, and they're doing the same exact thing. I just got to look at it. I want to know. I don't see a lot of that. It's more of nobody really has been charged, and now we're just going to throw it on them 100%.
Well, if you look at the big, it's
a problem.
It's fire and mosquito control.
Fire and mosquito control. Those are the big whammies, and then recreation.
Yep.
Recreation creeps up on a handful of them as well.
In the rec houses,
Rec is for dwellings.
that's dwellings. You can't charge direct on the church, so that's dwellings.
That's just for the residents. Keep in mind.
No, because look here.
Recreation?
Go to Turning Point Church, okay? Turning Point Church has $200 on recreation. That's $100 for the home that Pastor Troy and his family reside in. That's $100 for that church facility.
No,
itself.
maybe
Is it not?
No, that would be a mistake if it was. But
He said there's another residence. Pastor Troy, there's 2 residents, correct?
Yeah, but they're both being assessed.
No, that's what
Right,
that
for the
was the
200.
question. They thought
Yeah.
you just had the one residence, but you did have the 2. So
Well, there's one next door.
Yes, sir.
And then there's the one on the property.
Right.
right, but they both belong to the
Both
church.
being assessed, though, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, they are.
Okay, then
Right.
what about we'll go
That's what he
the one below Turning Point?
Big,
I don't know what that is. The one above Big Cypress, First Baptist, and the one
I don't.
below Turning Point. It's a big block.
Board of Trustees, Clewiston Gospel
sir.
Ministries.
Use this one, boss. It's a little bit bigger.
It says a resident, though.
This one right here. So
$200.
that $200, you're telling me that's not being assessed to the facility?
That'd be
The
two-
massive house.
There's 2 houses supposedly on that parcel. Tom.
No, here's an argument, Attorney Lapp, and this is for someone to come out and build a gas station, a bar, anything they want to. They just pay the regular fees and go build it. I just spent $30,000 so I could build a church just because it's a place of meeting. So now let's kind of turn this around a little bit. I just went through a ridiculous amount of money so I can have meetings of a church. But you could have built a bar on my same property, no big deal. Build it, knock yourself out. So if we want to compare this to apples, it ain't apples to apples.
You're making my head hurt.
It's a
right
commercial. It's a commercial property. They could have built anything they wanted on that piece of property. But in order for me to build a church there, I had to have a special exception done. Correct?
Yes, but you still have.
Yeah, go ahead and clarify because
For the record, yes. I'm not speaking for Margaret, but I'm going to attempt to. Yes, commercial property, if it's a loan, I can't remember what your commercial zoning was.
In order to have a place of meeting,
Yes,
you have to have a special exception.
But I thought you were including your other call, site
No, sir.
development plans and all that stuff. That still
I'm
comes.
submitted, because to get the
Yes.
special exception, I had to do a site plan. I had to do every bit of that.
if it was a bar or if it was something else, you'd still have to get a site development plan from the county and get all that approved. The only thing different that you did was a special exception.
I'm getting charged for that just because I'm going to have a place of meeting.
Well, would
So
you
I'm 30. I ain't even turned a shovel yet. I ain't even backed the truck in there yet. I done spent $40,000.
On getting.
And I'm about to spend another $75,000 to have plans drawn.
Engineers are expensive.
Brother, what I'm saying is, you want to compare apples to apples, let's do that. Just because that building's sitting there, I got to have a $65,000 sprinkler system in this building.
You're talking about building permit.
No, I'm talking about what I'm putting in this building. Compared to somebody that's got a handy store sitting there. They don't have a sprinkler system. But because I have over 300 chairs in there, I have to have a sprinkler system. If I want to rent this building out, I have to have an elevator. So it'll be ADA compliant because I have a second floor. I mean, there's a lot goes into this. So it's going to be hard. I'm going to be with you on this. You want to assess the parsonage? Okay, I get it. That's a house. But the church itself, I'm paying a lot of extra stuff that I shouldn't be paying to build a church. That feeds this community, houses this community, pays light bills for this community, puts people in hotels in this community. I mean, again, I can go on and on. The rest of these pastors are here to say the same thing I'm saying. So, it's not you, Mr. Parker. Please don't take it that way. That's what it is. But that's my point, though. To build a church is a whole different animal. You got to go through every bit of that to build a church. It's not the same as building a house.
And then I'm gonna make one final point. From 1999 to today, they haven't received it. When I say they, the county has not received these dollars, and we've been delivering the service. I don't care whose fault that is.
Been receiving some, depends on
They've
when
been
they come in.
receiving some services, yes, sir.
No, some dollars.
Or the opinion thereof that they will deliver if need be.
Well, and we were receiving some dollars because some's paid, some hadn't.
Some of them are yellow, some of them are paying.
Because I talked to a couple of pastors and I asked them, first I asked them if they get the notice. Some of them did and some of them didn't. But then he said when he go to the tax office to pay his taxes, none of this never came up to him. So, and I did explain to them that they're not going back years to assess you. But it will be something that take place. I just need to clarify to them that they're not going back digging up taxes on them from 2 or 3 years ago. We're not trying to do that. Like I said, I hope we can come to a good conclusion that we're not going to break the church. Some of them go from week to week. I promise you, they often might be $100 and some of them $100. It depends on, because some people come because they have no place else to go and they just don't have to give. So we just got to consider everything.
I think we're pretty clear of where we are and how we got here. I think we need to go ahead and start making some headway.
So I think everybody's in agreement, and I've heard no one that would say differently, that the parsonage is the parsonage.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now the declaration of how that's going to be arrived at, and if there is a disagreement, then I think that each individual church needs to come and have that discussion.
So the question I got is, can we take the fire and the mosquito control off the churches? That's where all the big bucks are at.
Well, you can choose to exempt them, but as an appropriate matter, you should put an ad valorem budget transfer in to cover the exemption amount. The reason is that special assessments are based upon benefit provided, and so somebody's paying for the service. And so if you exempt certain parties, then all the other landowners are paying more to cover the service that's being provided to the greater group.
That sounds wonderful in theory, except the fact that for 20 years it hasn't occurred. So now we've got to arrive at that.
Well, what about the fact that I'm paying for water and sewer and I don't have nothing on the property at all?
I don't know how to react to that. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, it's a good question.
You're
property
getting
we
assessed
have in
for
Port LaBelle,
Oh,
we get taxed for water and sewer because the line runs there.
But you don't have any.
Well, I've got nothing to hook it to unless you want to put a spigot out there.
You're already paying the taxes. What you're
I've been
saying?
paying taxes on it for 7 years now.
Oh, wow.
I think that's a private thing, and I think you need to wait and talk.
Oh no, we're bringing it up. We're bringing this all out. Bring it all out. I mean,
let's talk now, huh?
Yeah, I can't talk to y'all but once a month.
Hey, you know what it is though? You gotta get him in front of some other pastors, man. You gotta get a therapy session going.
I mean,
where's that paper we passed out earlier?
You know,
pass that mental health paper down.
I don't need that. I just need prayer.
So,
Anyway,
I know our legal counsel has Attorney Lapp has said we have to be fair and equitable in how we make this assessment, and it has to be across the board.
We don't know what that total number is, correct?
Yeah, you can add those columns up on the
You can
bottom
add
if you
them
want
up,
to.
and what I'm saying is that I don't know if it's 10 cents on the dollar or 10% thereof. 50%, whatever you want. I'm up for any suggestions, but
If so, legally we got to pay it.
No,
Somebody
not
has to
necessarily.
pay it. And so right
County
now.
has to pay it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So you could either assess it or choose not to assess it. If you choose not to assess it,
then you don't have to pay it.
Then we would do a general fund transfer into each of the corresponding MSBU's to offset it.
Okay, let me ask you this. So you're telling me right now that you feel that in the finite details of the way that the statute is written of application of an MSBU, that there's no exceptions to that.
Right, it's based upon benefit provided.
Benefit provided.
Benefit provided, and if you get a benefit, you're supposed to pay, and if you should pay no more than the benefit that you receive. And
so you've researched this enough to know that out of 67 counties, there's no counties that are having this exception.
I don't know about that. I mean, there may have been some that are just like us until this year, and I couldn't tell you, but I do know from talking with other counties that they had this, like Charlotte, I know, just went through this like a year ago.
Yes, sir.
And it was it was a room full, and it was a lot of heartache, and the commission decided to exempt churches, and they did an ad valorem budget transfer to cover it.
Let's do that.
So we're talking about 25?
Well, but
we don't know what the number is.
But the parsonages, I think everyone's agreeing they ought to pay, and so that would reduce this. They pay some of that. They pay the parsonage part. They just wouldn't pay the church part, and the church part would be the ad valorem transfer in.
And then when some of them not paying garbage.
Some are, some are not.
How far in the weeds do we want to get on that? Because the preacher that we have is 76 years old. He can't even go to the park.
Say that part again, sir.
The preacher at the church I attend is 76 years old. And I don't know how many young kids are typically living at the parsonage, but I suspect that it's a relatively small number. So do we want to get so far into the weeds that we say, well, if you're going to exempt them, do you want to, they probably have their own places there. Do we want to get Mark shaking his head no, like no?
You got hundreds, if not thousands, of homes that are owned in the county by senior citizens.
That's
and you
right.
charge them a recreation assessment.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that we're already talking about doing some exemptions here. So if we're going to do it and do a benefit, then we need to explore all options on the table.
It's the same thing with schools. All the old people pay for the schools and gripe. All the people in West pay for the hospital and gripe. So you could just go on and on.
Where's these funds been coming from in the past?
They just haven't been coming in.
Okay,
We've been upside down out the fund.
So how did we arrive at this to begin with?
Somebody found it.
Arrive at finding the problem, or arrive at the dollar numbers?
How did it come up? How did
The dollar figures or the
no,
issue?
sir.
The problem.
The problem itself is. Was that
I
some
don't
new
know.
law
This
that
has
come
been going
down or
on for
what?
a few years internally and waiting on the calculation. This took quite a bit of work to come up with. I can't explain why it sat around for as long as it did. I know it came to my attention at some point, and I said, we're not assessing them. We have to assess them because everybody has to pay because it's all based upon equal benefit.
Okay, and you just said that Charlotte County decided we're just not going to assess them.
But they're doing an ad valorem budget transfer.
They assess the parsonages?
I don't know.
Oh wait, hold on. I don't care if Charlotte did or did not.
No, I was just asking. I'm just curious.
I'm ready for us to
make a motion, Commissioner.
Yep. So I make a motion that we implement the taxes associated with parsonages, but I don't want to do it to 501c3s. I want to do it to. Well, that's my question. Do we do it to places of worship or do we do it at 501c3?
A dwelling. Why don't you just say a dwelling? Or
Okay,
a
so
parsonage?
parsonage is associated,
Right.
or a dwelling that's associated with a church.
Or a
you don't-
501c3.
you wouldn't
Someone
have-
live there.
You wouldn't have to make the motion for the parsonage. You just
'Cause it's
gotta make
there.
it for the church.
It's there.
No, the church. If you're going to do it for the church, you have to vote.
No, we
motion
do have to because
exclude.
some are not, some are, and some are not.
Yeah. But the church is on one going to be excluded.
Make a motion, just throw this out.
Throw one. Right.
So we're going to have to flesh
I
this
think
out.
that's where we're going. I think we're trying to flesh out the best direction there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I need help with
Well,
how we're going to make the
well,
motion
if
because
I
the
could-
gist
if I
is
understand what you're saying dwelling units pay the assessment.
Correct.
Non-dwelling units are exempted from the assessments, and then what I'm urging that you do as well, authorize a budget
General fund
from
transfer.
general fund to cover the amount represented by the church non-dwelling part of the assessment.
Move that, Commissioner Turner.
I second it.
Do you have to say churches or not?
Say what churches?
No, because it's not just churches, right?
No,
We're not,
'cause it's
we're not
This
saying
is a
just
mix
churches.
of.
That's right.
There's a handful of non-religious nonprofits. in it.
Place of dwelling is a place of dwelling.
Yeah.
So if I just leave it at the place of dwelling.
Okay, when you go, Mark, when you go back to the Methodist Youth Camp, they've got to pay.
but
Well,
that's
not all that's dwellings though, Mr. Harris.
Where they have 3 houses and they have camps and they make
Blue and the
they make
houses
money from all of that. They profit from all of that and they pay somebody to do that.
okay. But hold on. But so
They're
I
not-
hear what you're
They're
saying,
not a church.
and that's
They're
where
not a non-for-profit then.
exactly. And so, but let's just say they were. Let's just say that they did declare themselves.
They are.
How?
They're nonprofit. I mean, we don't know their bottom line, but they're not in the profit-making business.
But that's the point too, Mark, that I'm trying to make right now.
They charge,
They charge.
Now,
That's
if you use a
correct.
facility, you have to pay a fee.
That is correct.
and they have to pay somebody to take care of it,
Right.
manage it.
But
It's not a
okay.
church.
It's owned by a church.
It's owned by a church, but it's not a church.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying they should pay it.
Okay. And on that note, I agree with you.
Okay, it's not, but the church, we all.
But
How
the
do you-
church itself is not paying. They're not being assessed.
You're saying nonprofits should pay.
For the love
Yeah.
of everything that's holy, can I speak?
If they're not a church.
Please.
They worship there too.
So what happens if it's a 501c3, no church affiliation, and I could play devil's advocate all day long as it relates to that.
But they got houses on the property, so that kind of makes it a little.
No. I'm not talking about this place. I'm saying said 501c3 exists between here and LaBelle on the side of 80. And they're not a place of worship. They're a 501c3. They build a massive center. And is that entire facility, we don't know what they are. We don't know what they're doing. Is that facility tax exempt?
Unless they have for many of the MSBUs, unless they have a dwelling. The dwelling would be taxed, but the
Dwelling would be
facility-
taxed, but the center
facility
itself
would not.
Okay.
As long as it's a 501c3 tax exempt under what Attorney Lapp said.
I don't. Okay, I'm not talking about ad valorem.
You're not talking about ad valorem. Ad
talking
valorem
about
is still
MSBUs only.
assessed.
I'm sorry.
You're talking about BUs only, correct?
Correct. And
Yeah.
so how the ad valorem, as a general principle, I can tell you churches are exempt from ad valorem taxation by the Florida law.
Churches? What about places of worship?
That's a church.
Yes. Yes, but the 501c3 non-religious, I'm not sure. I think they are
The
exempt.
church of what?
I think they're exempt by state law, but I'm not sure about that because that wasn't really part of this. That's ad valorem.
Because I went to Southwest Baptist University. Sat in a number of philosophical classes where Dr. Crocken would challenge us to look at things from an adverse perspective. So now you have the church of Satan himself. Just be ready.
We're going to charge them.
We're being watched right now. Yeah, that's the thing. And now lawsuits entail. And so if we're going to make it for one, we have to be prepared to have that. We have to be able to understand how we're going to deal with that. Just saying.
They just have to sue
They'll have to sue us
if it's the church of Satan.
because you're saying you're going to tax them. Okay.
Try to get it, run them out.
Oh boy, here we go.
Make the declaration, my man. Okay.
I would love to hear that motion again.
Then the parsonages.
I'm sorry. Can we get away from the word parsonage instead? Just say dwellings
Dwelling,
because
yes. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Did y'all put that in the
So
motion?
no, sir.
Attorney Lapp had it framed correctly. I'd love
So
to hear it
dwellings that are associated. Is this the only list, by the way? Is this comprehensive?
Yes.
Repeat it again, Mark.
So the proposal would be that dwelling units, as reflected on the spreadsheet in front of you, would pay the assessments that any dwelling unit pays in the county, and that non-dwelling unit buildings and vacant land owned by the entities on this spreadsheet would be exempted from non-ad valorem assessments and that there'd be a corresponding budget transfer from the general fund to cover that amount that they're being exempted.
Who wants to move it?
Commissioner Turner did.
I'll move it.
Commissioner Turner?
Second. Discussion.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. Discussion?
Is this in perpetuity as new ones come on? And
I hope so.
you know, do we have a situation?
That's a good thing, because that's why we're in the conundrum we are.
Yeah.
And so I would say that needs to be a broad stroke to where if you fall in that category, then that applies to you.
You're building a church tomorrow.
Yes.
You have a dwelling that's associated with that church that you're going to provide for said residents. Bam.
Unless your church is already permitted and started, then you got to pay it.
Okay, so let me ask you a
No,
question.
I was just kidding. I was waiting for him to turn around. He didn't hear me. He didn't hear me.
Since you hadn't paid nothing out so far.
Praying for
And
you,
so
brother.
the church aspect has nothing to do with it. It's 501c3
That's
status
right.
and non-for-profits.
As long as it's not a dwelling.
That's because that's what's on this list.
Because there's a difference between 501c3s and non-for-profits, registered non-for-profits.
Correct.
Are they in there as well? Y'all are giving me zero confidence that anybody.
I'm not sure I'm not sure if the nonprofits.
There's
are
a
on there.
handful of non-religious, nonprofit organizations on this list.
So
they've
your
been-
worshipers may be in here, and we're getting ready to exempt
No,
them.
I think we're all
Just
saying
know that.
dwellings are going to have to pay. We're talking about non-dwelling structures.
Right.
Y'all understand that, right? You understand
It's good,
the
yeah,
unintended
sure.
consequences.
Right. That's right.
That we may be giving people that we have no clue what they're doing,
Right.
but they have a registered 501c3 non-for-profit status, and we're saying game on.
I'm sorry, I just thought of an idea that you could use as a benchmark to be your dividing line, and that is if they're exempt from ad valorem taxation, then they get this exemption you're talking about. If they're not exempt from ad valorem taxation, then they pay.
Who
for
decrees
whatever
that and how?
The property appraiser evaluates that.
So that's all.
According to statute and ordinance.
According to statute, you're right.
Yeah.
So that would take care of that.
Right. And that takes the arbitrariness out of it. And that's what needs to happen.
I think so. Because I have a hard time with just, you're a declared 501c3, because I look at what some of the 501c3s that I've investigated throughout my life, and they're horrendous entities.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I think that our places of worship would share that sentiment as well when I've talked to a handful of pastors throughout my tenure.
Do we need to amend that motion?
Yeah. So maybe I.
Okay, I'll amend my motion.
I second the amendment
This
to
is
reflect that as it relates to state statute. You got it. Yep.
This is the last time we're going to do it.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the board?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
You said it was Mr. Aiken. I'm gonna go run him down.
I believe it was Mr. Aiken.
He said that.
Mr. Aiken. Who else? It had to be Miss Taylor.
Taylor and
Yep.
Davis. Davis is dead.
Okay.
Has he been on the board then?
No, Davis wasn't on the board.
No.
It was either Charlie
Chuck
Martinez or Fessel. And,
Joe Spratt.
Joe Spratt.
Bo.
Mr. Pelham. Uncle Bo.
So you don't.
I'm gonna go aggravate his people right down the road. Okay. I lost the last 4 hairs on my head because of this.
Okay, I'll call for a question.
Okay, well, do we need to give them an opportunity to speak to that again, or we're
Just maybe one last call. Maybe.
hey, last call? Anyone like to address this after we move forward on it?
Do it come up?
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to say thank you, guys. Thank you for your honest consideration. And I just want to add to this point, from what I read and from what I understand, it is up to the counties as to whether or not they do implement the thing. Because it's never been, in the litigation that I've read, it's never been forced upon a county to do so. It was the choice of the county to make that decision. So, but thank you guys very much for your time and however this works out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is that it?
Do we still have? We can go ahead and do C.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, let's do it. Can you approve them all at once?
I make a motion to
Balance of
approve.
C.
I'll second the motion.
And with the clarification that the assessment rolls for all of those will be as per your votes on RV parks and churches earlier this evening.
The motion made by you, Commissioner Turner?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Swindle. This is also here to the public. Anyone like to address that? Any discussion on the board?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I believe that was it, wasn't it? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Oh.
Hey, a point of question.